That's right, my friends and buddies, we're halfway through the year, so as we have done for WWE, everyone has to compare everything these days. We are now going to take the finger of power and go through the first 6 months of this year and decide, when it comes to All Elite Wrestling, what gets it up and what gets it down. And yes, it's a Positive Pete show. I don't want to be no Negative Nancy. One day I'm going to be dead and I'll be negative then, or I'll be doing nothing. Let's up those downs. So let's just keep things nice and easy to begin with when we start talking about William Ospreay and Bryan Danielson and everything they've done over the last 6 months. Well, it doesn't just get it up, it gets a golden up. I mean, the match they did have at AEW Dynasty should be chatted about forever because it was so damn good, but I don't want to end it there because I believe there's more. So we had Ospreay properly debuting in the company, and he has just gone from strength to strength to the point here we are in the summer and he should already be the face of the company. And of course, Bryan is in the midst of the end of his full-time run. This man can't have a bad match. And yes, sure, he's way too selfless, but that's much better than the other way around. And actually, it doesn't even come down to wins and losses. Danielson's not even thinking about that. He just wants to go out there and have a good time. And I think that's a life lesson that we can all stick in our tum-tums and feel pretty warm and fuzzy about. That's why them clashing at that pay-per-view felt like such a seismic event. I tell you, I will never get over that running knee as Will Ospreay was going for the hidden blade and the reversals, the counters, and the transitions. Also made me realize I will never be good at anything in my life as good as they are at this. I would guess at some point we get a round 2 and who the flub knows where we're going to be at that point. Maybe Will Ospreay's the damn champion and Danielson goes, oh my gosh, I need to become the world champion too. I mean, Bryan did just enter the Owen Hart Cup, so the next half of the year could be even better than the first half, and that is totally awesome. So I've already told you how much I love this, but in case you need to know again, I would reach into my heart like Kano and show you the blood. That's a disgusting thing to say. Let's move on. Because it really is the same on the women's side too. There are 2 individuals that I can pick out. Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale. There are some similarities here in the sense in 2024, Mercedes did arrive in AEW. And yeah, sure, we can put our hands up and admit it. Maybe at first it was a bit wishy-washy, but as soon as she did have that match at Double or Nothing, everyone was reminded, oh my gosh, she's really, really good. It also helped Nightingale out so much as well because she proved she could hang on such a level. All the promo time she's been getting in the story with Chris Statlander. I'm sorry, when it comes to Willow Nightingale, she needs an even bigger push. And she's already getting quite a big push. It really does feel like everybody sees her as a star now, and that's only going to help Willow. And again, when we come back to Mercedes, you can walk into my house and tell me that she isn't one of the biggest women stars in the world, but I'd happily put my arm around you and say, you totally wrong. So all of this is an up, especially because it really felt like it helped the women's division. And actually, yeah, if you do compare what we have done in 2024 to other years, well, it feels like it's on a very, very positive trajectory. Sadly, not everybody in AEW has been able to keep this momentum going because there's just been too many stop-start pushes. I mean, the Acclaimed, Daniel Garcia, Mark Briscoe, Deonna Purrazzo, Wardlow, again. I mean, I've still no idea what happened to Action Andre. Now, I know that Chris Jericho match was all the way back in like late 2022, and in 2024, he's barely part of the conversation. I don't get it. And there's going to be others, of course, because I will be forgetting some names, and it must be so frustrating. I mean, take someone like Ricky Starks. That does become Plupas 2 equals potato because you have to assume something is going on. Because Tony Khan says he'd love him back on the TV, and Rick says he wants to be back on the TV. Why the hell isn't he on the TV? It's not like we don't have the time either, because of course AEW does have 5 hours worth of television at the moment. So I just hope that more people get their chance. That's all it really comes down to. And as always, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, because it's just wrestling at the end of the day, and we have to try. It's just, I totally understand this. Sometimes you do pick a guy or a girl, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna get behind them. And then when they vanish from a Dynamite or a Collision or a Rampage, well, it just makes you feel a bit like a sad panda. Damn. Which has not been the way for Christian Cage, because honestly, this guy. Because basically, everything he did in 2023 was great. When he arrived in 2024, and every single thing he did was great. I mean, that's the reason he was picked to be the first proper opponent for brand new world champion Swerve Strickland. Everybody knew he'd come across as a mega dickhead. And my word, he did exactly that. I just think he's having the run of his career at the moment, so it's important to shout about it. And he has an entire group around him at the moment, and I think they're all benefiting too. I also look forward to seeing him every single week, which is the secret sauce of wrestling, until he says something awful. Then I kind of have a little bit of a meltdown. There's obviously everything he did with best friend Adam Copeland as well, and I cannot wait until they do their final run as a team. So yeah, this is me just shouting out one of my favorites. But when it comes to Christian Cage, He is gigging up. And we just mentioned it too, so we'll throw it in here. Swerve Strickland becoming the AEW World Champion at AEW Dynasty. That is just one hell of an up. And aside from being the first black world champion in AEW history, there is no two ways about it. Swerve Strickland earned it. I mean, it became apparent pretty quickly, but the man is just a chameleon. He can adapt to anybody's style, and it never looks like he's struggling at all. So he's just built different, and of course, all the fans got behind this, which is another feather in your cap. I mean, how many times have we seen a promotion go, ha ha, you're the guy, and the audience rejects it? That ain't the case with Swerve. And actually, every week I think he gets more popular. And yes, look, I know some people are going, Simon, I haven't liked the booking so far, and you're totally allowed to have that opinion. But I just think it's way too early to say. And in terms of an asset to a company, well, Mr. Strickland is getting it up. However, there is a reason that some people do have that criticism, and it's because some of the matches are really quite random, such as Swerve versus Roderick Strong. Now I know Roddy wanted that match because he felt like he got screwed over in the casino gauntlet, but that's the whole point of that match. It's a flip of a coin. There's also more recent matches like the BCC taking on the CMLL guys, which came out of nowhere. And we had Mark Briscoe versus Brian Cage, even though we hadn't seen Briscoe for ages. Listen, I love Brian Cage, but let's be honest here, that guy never wins, and this was to get in the TNT title ladder match. And we could keep doing this, but I'm not going to, and actually I don't mind overall. Like, I totally understand not every single match can have a story, because then you'd go to bed at night and try and remember them all, and you wouldn't be able to. I just think sometimes AEW leans too far in the other direction, and dare I say it, sometimes stuff just happens. I mean, that used to be a joke I used to make here on Ups and Downs. All Elite Wrestling also does like to bring outside performers in, even though it does have a massive roster. But you have to look at this at both ways too, because on the one hand, that's absolutely awesome. We should be showcasing new talent. But on the other, sometimes you can have a bit of a disconnect, because if the audience doesn't know this guy, well, you got to try and sell it to them. And it all ties into those recent rumors about Camille, and of course at the moment we don't know the deal, but it sounds like there's a conversation there. And again, I want to say a massive thank you to AEW, because life is all about experiences, but when you are watching it from a product perspective, well, I get that as well, and it's probably a down. Which is not how I feel about another angle that has definitely divided the audience. Everything with the damn Young Bucks. Now, I really thought about this too, because I know it did create a big conversation online, but Matthew and Nicholas Jackson decided to give a TK driver to Tony Khan is just too good for me. It's too funny, and it's too wrestling. Even more so because they brought Jack Perry back, who was so pissed off that he got suspended. His motivation was, well, I'm gonna kill everyone. Sorry, I totally love it. It's also been great to highlight the fact that Okada can be a mega asshole. And there's another one. AEW hired Okada in 2024. Don't you come in my house again and tell me that's a bad thing. I also really do enjoy Matt and Nick Jackson, because I think they do the whole obnoxious thing very well. And they had that Anarchy in the Arena fight at Double or Nothing. I mean, that could have been one of my most favorite wrestling matches of the entire year. So it's most definitely an up for me, and now you want to hurl numbers and statistics into my face. I don't care about that. I'm just a fan, man, and I just love this crazy stuff, and that's where it ends. Which also gets me to my next segue, something that made me absolutely cry. The retirement of Sting, my word. I mean, the Icon's entire run in AEW was absolutely perfect, but you know the old adage, if you don't stick the landing, sometimes that does leave a bad taste in your mouth. But not what we did at AEW Revolution. Again, I genuinely think it was perfect. Such was the love in the room and around the world for Sting as well. Everybody was saying, no man, he can't lose his tag team championship. That would suck. And there have been few wrestlers that can lay claim to having that kind of support, because it all comes down to the fact we love Sting. He got even better too, because he did this with his fake son and best friend Darby Allin, and it's another shout out to the Young Bucks who totally played their part. Also, let's remember that Sting was over 60 years old when this happened, and he still threw himself through glass. And sure, you can go, well, it was fake glass. Is that any better? I mean, maybe marginally. If nothing else, it actually serves for a template how all legendary figures should be retired in wrestling, and AEW deserves all the credit for that, because they absolutely could have gone the other way. So here we are again. It doesn't just get an up, it gets a golden up. And I will probably watch Sting's retirement match every single year until I croak as well. And Adam Copeland is definitely going to get a shout out too, even though very sadly, I don't think we're going to see him again in 2024. sucks. This is because he did suffer that horrible injury in that cage match with Malachi Black, so I just hope he does get better soon. Not just from the human side part of things, but because in All Elite Wrestling, hot damn, he was brilliant. I mean, I think Adam just arrived in AEW with a different kind of chip on his shoulder, because he surveyed the roster and was like, listen, I want to have matches with all of you, and I'm going to try and integrate your style into my style, because I don't want to be that old grumpy veteran. And actually, in many ways, it made it even better than he already was, and he's already pretty good. The feud with the House of Black absolutely ruled, which did end with that violent cage match, which was crazy. And we've left the door open for everything with Daniel Garcia. I assume that was the plan. Obviously, everything between him and Christian was awesome, but then there was Matt Cardona, there was Suzuki, there was Dante Martin. You see what I'm telling you here? He danced with everyone. We're just reminded that he is one of the best ever, and I swear he doesn't get his due. He basically debuted during the Attitude Era, and here he is at 50 years old, still smashing out bangers. I mean, it really is one of the most all-time runs ever, and he deserves his flowers. Now, I'm not able to do that from my stupid room. What I can do is give him up. AEW also did something super difficult in pro wrestling in 2024. They came up with a brand new match stipulation, which was totally woefully great. This is the aforementioned Casino Gauntlet, but I think it is so damn fun. There's that word again, the secret word when it comes to pro wrestling. If you're able to inject fun into something, well, like Bon Jovi, you're halfway there. Like any good stipulation too, it has real stakes because the winner can get a world title opportunity, but also there's jeopardy here. Depending what number you pull, you may not even make it into the thing, and then you can stomp around, and that gives you the opportunity to birth new stories. So I really do hope that AEW goes all the way with this. When it comes to pay-per-views, they just copy the Royal Rumble, and once a year you have Casino Gauntlet, or whatever the flub you want to call it, and you sell the fact that somebody's going to get a title shot, and we just build it and build it and build it. That's how much potential I think it has. You also have the surprise element that is fantastic, and you could debut people in this thing, and you'd send individuals totally crazy. So this is absolutely getting an up. I'm actually very, very excited about the next one. Although there is one potentially serious issue in AEW this could actually tie into, and that's the fact there's just way too many titles. Now I did do a quick spot of maths, which could mean it's totally wrong because I am an idiot, but between AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, and AEW Rampage, as well as Ring of Honor, because guys do turn up on these shows with their belts around their waist, we have a total of 16. 16. This doesn't even include the individuals that do come from like a AAA, a CMLL, or a New Japan, which means on any given program, you could have 20 human beings with titles. Look, once again, I could be incorrect here. I just think that's a little bit much. It also means that each one just gets negated a little bit because that's how life works. I know I say this all the time, but the best way to sum it up is with the phrase, the law of diminishing returns. If I give you one hug, it may be quite nice, but 42 down the line, you're like, man, these suck. You also don't want everyone to have a championship because then, of course, it starts to lack that speciality that you need it to have. I do kind of feel like AEW has done this just a little bit. You also don't want it to become boxing. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. You don't need that corruption in your life. But damn. Well, we do have to finish on a sad note, sadly, and again, this is nobody's fault. The list of injuries in AEW in 2024 so far has sucked. So we have lost Adam Copeland, Julia Hart, Jamie Hayter's not back, same with Britt Baker. Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, as I am talking to you, MJF only just come back. This is way too many people. There will be more as well that I'm totally forgetting, and I just want to double down that this is not their fault. Nobody can help injuries. But as a fan watching the show, this doesn't make me feel good in my tootsie toes. In fact, I feel very sorry for the individuals that we have talked about. So yeah, from that vantage point, of course it has to get a down. I would rather everybody was super happy forever. You never know as well, hopefully me giving them a down could vanquish them for good, which is a silly thing to say. I mean, that's just not going to happen. From nowhere though, I am going to throw a last up in, because do you know something? When it comes to AEW pay-per-views, which has carried on in 2024, they never miss. Because be it Double or Nothing, Revolution, Dynasty, or all the extra ones they do seem like they want to add, you can sit down and just be like, man, having the best time here. And how the flub are there so many good matches? Look, I'll be the first to say, especially when it came to Double or Nothing, that was a little long for my tastes, but when it comes to the quality, there ain't no arguing from this bald guy, and it is getting it up. Now, of course, much like my WWE list, I have deliberately not talked about some things, so I want you to chat about them in the comments below and make sure you give them an up and down, and then you can argue about it. That's what we do, and bam! Look, there it is, my WWE list, or somewhere around here. give it a click. Also, please do like the video, share the video, and of course, subscribe. Make love to that subscribe button. Don't do that. That's absolutely disgusting. And thank you, my friends. And just remember this before I do leave you today. I just love wrestling. That's it. I love AEW, WWE, and I hope they all kick ass in the second half of 2024. And of course, we'll keep an eye on all of it. Goodbye.